Good morning, everyone. 43 degrees out there, beautiful and sunny. The door's open. I'm good, right? Yes? Yeah. One says, oh, aren't you cold? Don't you want more heat or this or that? No, not really. I'm good. Well, I think that our bodies adjust to certain temperatures, right? Of course, if it gets really, really cold, and it freeze to death. Don't know if you can freeze. Can one freeze to death in a house, bud?
I'm sure it's happened, but yeah, we're not freezing to death.
Well, no, but I was just wondering if that's how cold does it have to be outside that with blankets and clothes and you would actually freeze to death in a house and not make it.
I don't know.
That'd be interesting. I might go and check that out. Well, anyway, and it's going to warm up some. I will be planting peas today, if I get to it. I want to get to it. So we'll see. All right, we are in Exodus 40, the last the last verse here, the last part in Exodus 40. Oh, wow. There's always something about when you come to the end of something and you successfully finished it. Yes? Ooh, I love that. The sanctuary erected and consecrated. Yahweh then spoke to Moses and said, on the first day of the first month, which I think for them is March, you will erect the dwelling, the tent of meeting, and place the ark of the testimony in it, and screen the ark with the curtain. You will then bring in the table and arrange what has to be arranged on it. That would be spring, the beginning of spring. Interesting. Oh, Father, you're so thorough. It's like there's a sequence to everything and all that is established in creation, and in a certain way, everything flows, and that includes mankind. And if it flows properly and originally, and its original sense on how it is created, it's just perfect. Everything just fits. Everything's just right. Yes. And I think any beginning is really important. Right? Yes. Well, then that makes more sense on how the months were viewed there and what the beginning for the first month, for example, was. Right. Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're learning. Trying to understand God better is a good time. And how? Okay. Already lost my. And place the ark of the testimony in it and screen the dark ark with the curtain. You will then bring in the table and arrange what has to be arranged on it. You will then bring in the lampstand and set up its lamps. I wonder if they were separate. I guess they were able to take that apart. Now see if I need to read the part of how the candlestick thing is put together. I need to read that to my brother-in-law, because I bet you he would have that right away in his head, figuring, oh yeah, it's like this, and this, right? To me, it was like, huh? As I said that, then God also had the people who were really knowledgeable and they were really smart about it. Like, what was his what was his name? The guy that who understood the directions of God, right? Does everybody always understand the directions of God? No, right? Because we have different strengths and certain things that we're meant to do here on earth, right? Yeah? Well, it's interesting. Oh, yeah. Everything has its place. All right. I already lost my place again. You will place the golden altar of incense in front of the ark of the testimony and place the screen at the entrance to the dwelling. You will place the altar of burnt offerings in front of the entrance to the dwelling. The tent of meeting. And you will place the basin between the tent of meeting and the altar and fill it with water. You will then set up the surrounding court and hang the screen at the gateway of the court. Then, taking the anointing oil, you will anoint the dwelling and everything inside, consecrating it and all its accessories. It will then be holy. You will then anoint the altar of burnt offerings and all its accessories, consecrating the altar. The altar will then be especially holy. You will then anoint the basin and its stand and consecrate it. You will then bring Aaron and his sons to the entrance of the tent of meeting, bathe them thoroughly, and then dress Aaron in the sacred vestments and anoint and consecrate him to serve me in the priesthood. You know, I'm sure that by then the people were really excited about all this, right? That's why, oh, it's so boring to read through all this. Is it really? Because I'm starting to get, what? When I think on how I started reading the book of Exodus, now I'm like, wow, this must have been really, I'm excited. I think about things that, I've done in my life that I completed. I began with it and I completed it and I was able to offer it up to God. Right? Yes? Yeah? I have to say. So what was the most amazing thing that you created and offered up to God in the sense of, right? Yes? I'd have to say it was every time I baked a little one in my oven. Took 9 months of, I hope everything goes well. I took really good care of myself and, this, that, and made a place for the baby to be born and all that. And then it happened, and there you are, right? Yes? And of course, you look at your little ones and you're going, oh my, how is this even possible? And to be this amazing. It's a whole other level of love that just pours out. And not just from ourselves, but the love actually that pours out of the baby. Pretty amazing. And then, of course, well, God's will, not my will, right? This hopefully will be a child raised, right, in the image of God. Yes, we do our best. We try, right? Trying is better than not at all. Well, anyway. And I've said this before. Now, having said again, I've had the experience of, right, having, being pregnant and growing, baking my own little ones, our little ones, and then giving birth, and right from beginning. But there are other ways, right, to also do exactly that. It just, as I said, right, by adopting, by taking care of aborted children in spirit world, right? Yes, there are different ways of having that kind of success when it comes to children. Now, just saying. Yes, won't keep me from my own excitement. So, and again, going back to this, it's just the excitement of oh, it's done, and all the collecting, all the instructions first. That's the blueprint. Then all the collecting, then finding the people to do it all, then, really being exact, this, that, and all the stuff that went with it, which is obviously, and then having it approved by Moses, right? And according to the instructions of Yahweh, then Moses, okay, and approved it all, and then the setting up of it, right? Yes? Oh, wow. The excitement of the people, I'm sure, was incredible at that time. So, was it necessary to do all this stuff? Yes. I would say It wasn't about the gold or the silver or the whatever, or the fine linen, and it wasn't about that. It was about building that foundation of excitement, of having done something according to the instructions of God, Yahweh, and then fulfilling that and seeing the finished product and what it meant, what it really meant. Right? Yes, there's a connection. That connection to God was formed. Yeah, I think that's what I get here. Da 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 da. I lost my name again. All right. There. You will then bring his sons, dress them in tunics, and anoint them as you anointed their father to serve me in the priesthood. Their anointing will confer an everlasting priesthood on them for all their generations to come. Inheritance. The divine commands are carried out. Moses did this. He did exactly as Yahweh had ordered him. On the first day of the first month, in the second year, the dwelling was erected. It took 2 years. Right, here we go. It took 2 years to get this all done. Sounds like. Moses erected the dwelling. He fixed its sockets, set up its frames, put its crossbars in position, and set up its poles. He spread the tent over the dwelling and the covering for the tent over that, as Yahweh had ordered Moses. Surely he had help with that. It's way too big to do by yourself. I know, I put plenty of tents up. It can't be done, but not a big one like that. I know. Let's give some credit to people who helped out, too. He took the testimony and put it in the ark, positioned the shafts on the ark, and put the mercy seat on top of the ark. He brought the ark into the dwelling and put the screening curtain in place, screening the ark of the testimony, as Yahweh had ordered Moses. He put the table inside the tent of meeting against the side of the dwelling on the north, outside the curtain, and on it arranged the loaves before Yahweh, as Yahweh had ordered Moses. He put the lampstand inside the tent of meeting, opposite the table on the south side of the dwelling. And even though it's hidden away now I'm sure that anyone that wanted to see it before it went in and while it was made, they got to see what it looked like, right? Yes? And then it needed to be protected. And set up the lamps before Yahweh, as Yahweh had ordered Moses. He put the golden altar inside the tent of meeting, in front of the curtain, and on it burnt fragrant incense, as Yahweh had ordered Moses. He then put the screen at the entrance to the dwelling. He put the altar of burnt offerings at the entrance to the dwelling, to the tent of meeting, and on it offered the burnt offering and cereal offering, as Yahweh had ordered Moses. He put the basin between the tent of meeting and the altar, and put water in it for the ablutions, where Moses, Aaron, and his sons washed their hands and feet. Whenever they entered the tent of meeting or approached the altar, they washed as Yahweh had ordered Moses. He then set up the court round the dwelling and the altar, and set up the screen at the gateway to the court. Thus Moses completed the work. Also with the washing and all that, putting the gowns on, I'm sure they as soon as they left the tent again of meeting, they had to take everything off, right, and all that. And the thing again is, I was so involved. But again, reading this again, I have this thought of on how particular the whole procedure is just to get into that really special part of the tent. Can you imagine? Okay, something's happening. We've got to talk to God. Here, people come running, or whoever can go in there, right? And just rushes into the tent, and they're all still worked up, and didn't have time to just kind of calm down. It's a ritual where you calm down no matter what. you reflect before you react, right? It's like the reflection part of the whole thing. You wash your hands, your feet, you get ready, right, to receive, to either give, yes, ask the questions, and then receive the answers. Yes? Or more instructions. Do you know what I mean? Yeah? Then one is ready. You're ready to meet God. So, yes, is it necessary? And the most state of mind that people are in, even today, yes, it's necessary to prepare oneself to meet God, to be with God. Yeah? Yeah? Unless you get to the point where God's just with you all the time. You wake up and the first thing is, thank you, Father, or just, yeah, it's like, feels as if he's just within you all the time. Anything that you do, you try really hard to, yes, always reflect before you react. Try to do the right thing. Yes, yeah. Oh, does it always work 100%? This, that. Guys, we all have a long way to go. But it becomes more and more natural. Remember, when you practice something again and again and again and again, eventually one sees results, right? Yes? All right, on the side of goodness, construction, not destruction. And one can get better at destruction too. Yes, okay. I'm not talking about that. All right. He put the basin between the tent of meeting and the altar and put water in it for the ablutions. Oh, we already read that. Thus Moses completed the work. Okay, all right, done. Yahweh takes possession of the sanctuary. The cloud then covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of Yahweh filled the dwelling. Ooh. Moses could not enter the tent of meeting, since the cloud stayed over it, and the glory of Yahweh filled the dwelling. I wonder how that worked. I've said this before sometimes, and I know that science always has an explanation for it, but why doesn't it happen every time? Sometimes here we sit out on the porch and suddenly I notice this. Sometimes it's at sunrise, sometimes it's at sunset, and something changes. There is this short period of time of maybe 20 minutes to 30 minutes where everything has a totally different appearance. The air, it's almost as if a void happens, a vacuum happens, right? There's still air, but it doesn't look like air anymore. It literally looks just so difficult to explain. Nothing flows, nothing, and there's nothing that moves. And it's just this, one could almost call it eerie, okay? The light is different, and not just where just the sun hits or the sun just went down or comes up. It's the whole, every bit of it is engulfed in this something different. Okay, that's all. I've tried taking pictures of it, and you can't. It's not happening, and it's almost as if I'm reading. I just read this, with God's cloud descending over the tent of meeting, and Moses couldn't enter it because that was happening, and it is. When I watch this from the porch, and it always happens from the porch. I'm never out there in the garden or over by the barn. It never happens that way. I'm always somehow right? And it all happens out there. As if the whole place out there I guess it happens throughout the whole world at the same time. I'm assuming, I don't, maybe just out there, it's all the tent of meeting. Right? Yes? Well, anyway, uh, this all brings back things that I'm just always so amazed over. And I realize that I just experienced something again that where spirit world and the physical world merge and meet and give you just this absolute wondrous time, right? Yes, to reflect, deeply reflect, right? And then, of course, one reacts with what? Absolute happiness, right? Yes? Oh, okay. The cloud guides the Israelites. At every stage of their journey, whenever the cloud rose from the dwelling, the Israelites would resume their march. If the cloud did not rise, they would not resume their march until the day it did rise. For Yahweh's cloud stayed over the dwelling during the daytime, and there was fire inside the cloud at night, for the whole house of Israel to see at every stage of their journey. That just reminds me too of, and I didn't mention it because of how do I explain what it looks like? That's exactly what it is. What it looks like when that happens here. It's like this fire. There's like this, the color of fire everywhere. Okay. Yes. It has this just sheen of it. It's so difficult to explain, but I just read this and go, oh, at night, the cloud has color, right? Yes. Different. It shines different. Okay. All right. Oh, wow. What an amazing ending here in Exodus, right? Yes. What an interesting ending. That's it, guys. That's the end of Exodus. The book of Exodus. Now we're going to get into the book of Leviticus. Leviticus. I guess I'm saying it right. Okay. And the first part of it will be the ritual of sacrifice. Ugh. Didn't Exodus start out somehow with also where I went, ugh. I'm not a big, sometimes here in the wild, in the wilderness that we live in, you have to sacrifice an animal, mainly for the safety of others, like a poisonous snake, right? Where you're going, you are not in the right place. This is not, and to move them, well, you don't want to move them into someone else's area, right, where they could create some problems. And if you don't move them far enough out, well, even if you dare come right back, they're very territorial, and at least the ones that we have here. So, unless, again, if they are out there and I come across them, I don't bother nothing. They don't bother me. But if you find them in the chicken coop, or you find them in your yard with little children with barefoot running around, what do you do, right? Yes. Yeah, well, so sometimes you have to sacrifice an animal. And that's, to me, is a sacrifice. When you have to when you have no other choice, right, in a way. And it doesn't feel good. It never feels good to have to do that. It doesn't matter what it is. Because we moved into the wilderness here, right? Yes, everything else was already here, right? We moved in. And, you establish a give and take with nature here. And but as I said, every once in a while still it happens where, this isn't going to work, right? You've got to go. Right? We had a mink that came right out, mink coats, and how valuable they are. So we had one here. And I thought, don't. Yeah, they're so few. There's not many here, but there's a few, and you don't want to. They're not dangerous. They're just rodents in a way. You don't want to kill them or anything. But one got into a chicken coop, killed so many chickens. It's like, oh. And they really just they go in and they kill a bunch of chickens and I don't even know if they eat them or not. I haven't really ever found one that was halfway eaten, but I knew it was that mink. It hasn't come around in a while. The pigs. Once the pigs started sleeping in the chicken coop, that all stopped. But so so you wonder, well, do I want to set a trap? Just don't. Just don't want to do it. I have an easier time killing the snakes. Why? Why is that? Because they're beautiful too, and they have their job. They do their job too. It's just I don't want them to eat my baby chicks. So, again, but talking about sacrifice, and that's what we're getting into. That's to me to just sacrifice, just kill an animal, then to lay it somewhere, burn it to death, or burn it to crisps, and so the smoke, the smell of meat can go up to you. That doesn't make sense to me. Okay, I don't know what's in there. Maybe it's just some tradition that maybe it was something they did in Egypt as well, and just thought, well, okay, well, but God kind of directed them. Maybe not. Maybe it wasn't quite understood properly. Right? I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't there. All I know is how I feel about it. What I see as, don't like to do this. Same with mice. Over in the barn, I don't kill them in the barn. They can't get to feed. They just hang around for a little while. They don't eat the eggs. They don't eat the chickens. They don't do anything except for, right? Yeah. So, don't worry. And we have a cat over there, and he's great. Burlington's great. He'll catch them if he can. So, actually, I don't. There may be one or two over there, but they're not damaging anything. Okay. uh, but if I have them in the house, I have to set a trap. And again, it's like, guys, there is enough laying out there. I mean, I throw the corn out for the chickens. So at night, the mice could go. There's always a little less extra out there, and then they could bury their own, make their own. But nope, sometimes they come, especially in our basement, and we have a water source down there, and mice just poop and pee everywhere. So again, it's like every time I have to do that, it's like, ugh, guys, there's so much room out there. Why do you have to be in the house, right? Yes. Well, anyway, so there it is. Yeah. Maybe I'll become the ultimate animal whisperer and just, guys, just I do that. I tell the animals out. I said, look, your environment, my environment. Let's leave each other alone. Or cohabitat. How does it coexist together? Right? In a acceptable way, right? I'll take the loss every once in a while, but if the loss becomes greater, then I've got to do something. Well, anywho, so there it is. We'll get into that, I guess, when I get on the next time. That's all I wanted to share today. God's love and blessings always. May He protect you, and I will talk to you another time.